Hi everybody, how you doing? Especially the folks who maybe I've seen you today, knocked on your door. It's a Sunday. I was out electioneering, campaigning, whatever you want to call it. It was really cool. I had a really good time. I actually like going door to door. A lot of candidates don't enjoy it. I do. I like meeting people, obviously, and getting some ideas from folks and just having conversations. And if you pick the right places to go to, you pick the right doors, then it's actually a very pleasant experience, as I'm finding out. So if you haven't tuned into one of these Facebook Live things, what we're going to be talking about usually runs about a half hour or so, unless there's a lot of comments. A lot of what I'm going to be talking about, you can read more about and get links to at the campaign website, and that's daveforchange.org. And in case you didn't know, I'm running for city council. I would like to think that's why you've tuned in. This week, we're going to talk about RG&E. It's a sore spot for a lot of people, and the reason for that is RG&E sucks, for lack of a better term. They were relatively better. I mean, I have to be honest with you. Before the company was sold to Iberdrola in Spain, I didn't pay much attention to it. I just knew I had to pay their bill, and it still was a little weird. But I just noticed that since it no longer was a local company, it's really gone downhill in terms of service and rates and how much our energy costs have gone up. Now, some of that is the market, and there's only so much we can do. But I just found out, I mean, first of all, I've been seeing on my Facebook for a while now, people have been really complaining about RG&E. 1 month they'll be owed $300, and then the very next month they owe $300, and so it's like a $600 swing, and it's out of control, and we need an alternative, a real alternative, and it can be done because there are other places. Well, let me get ahead. I don't want to jump ahead. So another thing that will upset you about RG&E, I just got an email today from a friend who let me know that not going to read from it, but I want to make sure I'm getting my facts right here. That apparently RG&E is going to put in for another rate hike. Yes, another rate hike again. And to do that, they have to go through the Public Service Commission, and the PSC will take comments from us. And I know that there's some folks that are going to be, there's going to be a training kind of thing and how it's best to submit your comments to the PSC, and that's going to be Wednesday, March 27th. That's coming up, and it's going to be from 6 to 8 p.m. at the Metro Justice Community Room in the Hungerford Building, 1115 East Main Street in Rochester. It's at door number 7. So even if you can't do that, if you look up the Public Service Commission for New York State, it'll take your comments, and you can totally do that when RG&E finally puts in the paperwork to have yet another rate hike. So we need to, speaking of hikes, we need to tell them to take one. And this is how we can do it, is we need to create a public municipal utility. And and this is not new. I will admit, of all of the things that I want to do in my platform and running for city council, this is the heaviest lift. This will, even the stuff I haven't put in on the website yet that I'm going to be, I can tell you a public utility is going to be the heaviest lift. It's going to take the most amount of time and the most amount of effort and probably the most organizing, because it's obviously going to be met with a lot of resistance. I wouldn't be surprised if RG&E or whatever the 14 subsidiaries or whatever will try and sue. So what will end up happening to create a municipal energy company is that the city would have to literally pay for all of the stuff that RG&E has, all of the lines, all of that jazz, and that's going to be some upfront money. So that's going to be the heavier lift, and in terms of it's an investment. And what'll happen is when we pay our energy bill after that, like Fairport Electric, a lot of folks have heard about that. The money would not go to a company that takes our money and sends it out of town. Lately, I've been paying my RG&E bill through the mail. I went off of doing it online because they updated their website and it screwed everything up. And I almost had my electricity turned off because I couldn't pay online, and so my bill didn't get paid because of their quote upgrades. So I started paying it using a paper bill again because I just don't trust them. Another reason I think we should get rid of them. So I mail my check every month, and it goes to Boston. And from there, it's going to end up in Spain because that's where the parent company is. So once we start a municipal energy company, then the money stays here in town, which is a good thing. And that the money, I guess I don't want to call it profit, but the excess money for the costs in terms of labor and upkeep and all that, that goes towards the city budget, which is a good thing. It actually is. So, but because it's not trying to maximize for as much profit as possible, our rates are going to go down. It makes sense. So with that, somebody, when I put this out in my weekly email, and if you're not signed up to the email I send out every week, usually Friday mornings, you could do that at the website, dayforchange.org. And not only do I put some stuff about the campaign, but I also try and include some handy information that folks can use, whether it's on environmental stuff or recycling information, stuff like that. So I do try and keep the email useful, not just about the campaign. But anyway, you can sign up for those emails at dayforchange.org. The last one I sent out was about this. And from that, somebody replied to the email and said, hey, Dave, what about the income the city would lose from property taxes that RG&E pays? And that's a really legit question. And it kind of took me back for a second. I was like, wait a minute, that can't be right. It wouldn't be that much of a problem, would it? So here's the thing. The money that we would get, the people paying their bills, that would be made up the property taxes that we wouldn't be getting anymore, because the land that RG&E currently uses, we would obviously be getting, and that would become public land. And so while we wouldn't be getting tax money from that, the money from our energy rates, that's part of the cost of doing business. So even though our rates will go down, it'll make up for any property tax loss. So it's totally fine. Another thing that would make this really cool, and I think is a huge reason we should do that, is part of my environment platform plank that I keep threatening you guys with every week, but stuff comes up like this. So with the RG&E energy hike or rate hike proposal and some of the things I've been seeing on social media, I decided to focus on this week. But there is an environmental part to this as well. And that is, when we have a municipal energy company, we can relatively do what we want with it. And what I mean by that is we can get the energy that we use in the ways that we decide to. Now, originally, when we first start doing this, yeah, we're probably going to have to buy our electricity, as RG&E does, from New York State's hydroelectric system, which goes out of Niagara Falls and other places, and buying our energy from the places that we have been right now. But because we own the company, we can do a much greater push to have municipal renewable energy sources set up in the city, which would mean wind turbines. Did you know that right now the city of Rochester, now this is for individuals, but there's no zoning to put up wind turbines. Like if you wanted to in your backyard or something, zoning wise, you're not allowed to do that, which is something I will work to change, by the way, but that's for a different day. And but we can have wind turbines in the city. Now, all the things you may have heard about them is really some propaganda. I'm going to use that word. So to get people afraid of having turbines set up. They kill fewer birds than tall buildings do. So if killing birds is really a problem for you, then we need to start tearing down some tall buildings because they kill more birds. But anyway, wind turbines, we really dipped almost a toe into solar farms in the city, and we should just be doing way more of that. I mean, it should be, we should be really figuring out ways of paying for that. I mean, it's going to pay for itself at some point, but at least the upfront money in terms of purchasing power and to be able to get all the panels that we would need. But there should be solar farms all over the city. We have all this vacant property as well that is off the tax rolls, and we should definitely be putting solar on it. So in that transition, once we get the municipal energy company, we'll be also setting up sources of renewable and looking into some thermal stuff too, which I have to admit I know very little about, but I do know that it's there. I mean, we can totally be harvesting thermal energy, which would be getting a lot of stuff from underground. Again, the science of it is not my expertise, but we would explore adding that on as well. So we'd be paying less, our money would be staying in town, and then we can really do a push on renewables, and it'd be energy that we're making from the sun and the wind and water and all that jazz, and it would all be local, and it would just be win-win-win. It would just be an amazing thing. Now, it's going to take a lot of work. There's some state issues we'd have to work out, and we're going to have to bring in our state representatives to kind of grease this and make sure it goes through in the right way, so that we have actual control over what's going to happen. But we can totally do this. So we can get rid of RG&E. It would probably take not just me on city council, the other 8 members, and the mayor. It would probably take you, whether it be signing petitions, making phone calls, going ahead and contacting the PSC, which hopefully you'll be doing about the RG&E rate hike anyway. And it's going to take some time. And then we're going to need to make sure that there's funding somehow. I would think that, and I always butcher the name, whatever the governor's the Hunger Games thing, I mean, that would be some money that we could use to purchase RG&E's land and infrastructure, as well as some other places. But again, we're willing to bond. We're willing to borrow money to build police stations, unfortunately, which we shouldn't be doing. We should definitely fund as much as we can through grants in the state and even federal government if possible. And then if we need to sell bonds to do that, then we should do that, because this is really an important thing. Helps with fight climate change. It keeps our money in town. It lowers our energy costs. And another thing about that, so we're so big to give out tax breaks, and I've called for stopping that. The corporate welfare just has to stop. It doesn't work. It doesn't do what it's supposed to. But I guarantee you businesses will not only be more successful in starting up, but they'll definitely want to move here when there are lower energy costs than most of the places around the country. So that would be an amazing way to entice businesses to move here, as well as making sure the startups here are more successful because their energy costs will be less. So, I mean, like I can keep adding wins onto this list of why we should get rid of RG&E and create a municipal energy company. If you go to the post on this, dumping RG&E, and in the issues section at dayforchange.org, there is a link to a list of the other 2,000 plus municipalities that do this. This is not unheard of. This is not something that's really outside the box. It's just going to take some time to make it happen because RG&E is so ensconced. It's like, it's going to take a way to carve them out. They're probably going to go kicking and screaming, and that's okay. Iberdola can move along, and we can get control of our energy creation back. So that's really about it. If you go to dayforchange.org, you can leave comments, and like someone did, they emailed me on that thing about property taxes. Feel free. If it's something I don't have an answer for, I will go and get it. And because I will never ever claim to know everything, and I'm sure you guys have some great questions that I hadn't thought of before. So let's solve all the problems to making this happen before we make it happen and then have to deal with them. So dayforchange.org, not only is there some amazing stuff that I'm trying to do with the campaign and things that I'll do when I'm in city council, you can donate to the campaign, and that does have some pretty cool stuff. It's not like a PBS fundraiser where I can give you a tote bag or anything like that, but the stuff that I do with the campaign, like the email, as I was talking about, and my campaign lid, which has some really useful stuff on the backside that isn't about the campaign. Everything I try and do with this run for city council, I try to make sure it improves the community a bit. So dayforchange.org, you can take a look at all of the ideas that I'm trying to implement You can give feedback. There's also the Facebook page you're watching this on now, or if you're watching it later on YouTube, there's comments there. We also have Twitter and Instagram, as well as just straight email, even a voicemail that you can leave a message with, and text as well. So I'm going to go. You can pass this around, leave comments here, and let's make this happen. And I'll see you when I knock on your door. Have a good night.